Hey, and welcome to today's video. And in this video, we're going to break down, got Muhammad and myself here, really how Arnold Schwarzenegger delivers a speech. So he did a speech about what's going on with Russia and Ukraine, and we're not going to discuss any of the politics or any of that. We're just looking at Arnold's delivery in his communication. So go ahead and start the video here.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for sharing your time with me. I'm sending this message through various different channels to reach my dear Russian friends and the Russian soldiers serving in Ukraine. I'm speaking to you today because there are things that are going on in the world that are being kept from you. Terrible things that you should know about.
All right. So right off the bat there, that is quite the hook. 20 seconds in, and there are terrible things that are being kept. So just from the messaging point of view on the intro there, he really captures that attention. Muhammad, you notice anything else about that intro?
Couple things right from the get-go. He thanked us. Thank you for sharing your time. So that's really nice. Thank you for spending the time to watch it. So it's always nice and polite. He also addressed who he's speaking, who is this message for, particularly. It's for my dear Russian friends. So he addressed a particular audience. So you know where this message is geared to. Always a good idea to let people know who you're addressing this to, because a message for everyone is a message for no one.
That's right.
But before I talk about the harsh realities, let me just tell you about the Russian who became my hero.
All right, and right here as well. So this is he's about to go into a story, and this is the setup for the story.
In 1961, when I was 14 years old, a very good friend of mine invited me to come to Vienna and to watch the World Weightlifting Championships.
All right, and again, I'm gonna pause here. When you're telling a story, it's very powerful to zoom into a specific moment. So 1961 at these World Weightlifting Championships. So he's very specific about where this story is taking place. Muhammad, what's good about being so specific with stories?
It makes it easier to remember and it's easier to stick.
I was in the audience when Yuri Petrovich Vlasov won the World Championship title, becoming the first human being to lift 200 kilograms over his head. And somehow a friend of mine got me backstage. All of a sudden there I was, a 14-year-old boy standing in front of the strongest man in the world.
Wow. So let's just break that down real quick. What's the feeling you're getting from this so far, Muhammad?
It's almost like you get this backstage, behind the scenes. And it was, you see how he built up this momentous occasion, first human being ever. So he built it up and then he's like, take us behind the scenes. You and I sitting here, we weren't there. And chances are most people haven't seen that live, but here he is taking us behind the curtain to say he gets to meet him face to face. So there's that anticipation. So now what happens next? What happens next?
Yeah, absolutely. He has that real zooming in moment and saying also how he's feeling. That's something he's not just saying the details of the story, he's saying how inspired he is and how awestruck. All right, so we'll continue on.
I couldn't believe it. He reached out to shake my hand. I mean, I still had a boy's hand. He had this powerful man's hand that swallowed mine. But he was kind, and he smiled at me. I will never forget that day. Never. I went home and I put his photo above my bed to inspire me when I started lifting weights. My father told me to take down that picture and to find a German or an Austrian hero.
And there we go again with zooming into the story there. He is now quoting what his father had told him. So if you really want to get good at storytelling, be detailed with it. Of course, these are all relevant parts though. All of these parts you need to know for the story to progress. He doesn't have a lot of loose fluff in here, but they're very detailed, particular milestones.
He got really angry and we argued back and forth. He didn't like Russians because of his experience in the Second World War. You see, he was injured at Leningrad, where the Nazi army that he was part of did vicious harm to the great city and to its brave people. But I did not take the photograph down, no, because it didn't matter to me what flag Yuri Vlasov carried. My connections to Russia didn't stop there, by the way. Oh, it actually deepened when I traveled there with bodybuilding and for my movies and met all my Russian fans.
All right. So another thing that I'm noticing here is he's talking a lot in seeds. So if you don't know much about us, Magnetic Speaking, what we do, there's a specific structure that is called the SEED. It's an acronym that stands for Statement, Evidence, Emotion, Demo. And it's a way to really clearly convey your thoughts so that other people can understand what you're trying to say. And what he's doing here is he's saying something about his Russian friends, and then he backs it up with a small example. And this is also like a seed within a story. So now you have the story is anticipating, it's building, and also he's mentioning these little seeds throughout it. Mohammed, what else are you noticing so far about his speech?
100%. The other thing as well, when it comes to his story, is there's a conflict. You know, a really captivating story in some way or another has conflict, and even it goes all the way back to Aristotle, if you want to go back into those roots, right? So when it comes to conflict, you can see that there's this difference in time, generational gap that's being shown and showcased. You have World War II versus Arnold, and you see you can see he's had that back and forth argument, and he's showing in some ways, and now this is across the board, universal, where there's always these generational gaps. People come from different times, and he was trying to overcome that barrier even back then, back in 1961. Here we are in 2022, and still we're having these same kind of conversations.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that is the video that we have for you here today. We really wanted to dive into his talk, specifically with his storytelling skills and how he delivers a speech. So if you enjoyed this, do subscribe and continue to watch. We come out with more videos like this. And other than that, we'll see you next time.